A Greek cosmic motion, which I have rediscovered.
We look at these early attempts at flight, and we laugh. How could anyone hope these silly contraptions would fly? Yet we peer at them through the lens of hindsight. We know what works today, precisely because of the failures of yesterday. These early would-be aviators were exploring the unknown, and the costs of their failure were limited to their own bodies and egos. But as the decades of the 20th century passed, as technology became increasingly complex, and as more depended on that technology, the costs of failure rose. In no area have the stakes risen as high as in military technology, where the price may be measured in thousands, even millions of lives. Critics of the astonishingly complex Star Wars defense system argued that we would only be sure the system worked after the enemy attacked, and by then, failure would be catastrophic. How many other untested or imperfect technologies does our government depend on to protect us? Have the means of mass destruction advanced to the point where a single failure in our technology could cost us a neighborhood, a city, or worse? The Cold War is over. The nuclear sword of mutually assured destruction is no longer over our heads. We assume technology will protect us from the remaining threats of terrorism, of political blackmail, or of madmen. Yet, evidence to the contrary screams at us daily from the headlines. Simple fertilizer and diesel fuel slays 168 people in Oklahoma. A similar weapon almost topples the World Trade Center. TWA Flight 800 mysteriously blows out of the sky. Nerve gas poisons commuters in the Tokyo subway. Conspiracy of War, Down in Flames, presents the emotional spectacle of loss. Loss of life, loss of millions of dollars of human effort and technology, loss of a sense of security. Watch it not to learn, but to feel. Down in Flames is nothing more nor less than a ballet of the failure of military technology. Never prolific, always compelling, it is the next break in the structure of the Black Files argument that the century that lies ahead is the most critical in the history of the human race. As you watch it, understand that you are looking through the crosshairs of technological failure as the bullet strikes. In World War II, Hitler learned the cost of military hardware imperfection. As terrifying as the V-1 buzz bombs were, over 90% of them were brought down by anti-aircraft fire or balloon and cable barriers. Had the strike rate been higher, the battle for Britain might have ended much differently. The grandfather of the intercontinental ballistic missile, the German V-2, proved unstable and dangerous in the early days of its development. France's famed Maginot Line, a supposedly impenetrable line of fortresses along her border with Germany, fell in devastating defeat under the thunder of German artillery. The citizens of Paris knew all too well the limitations of defense technology. Nowhere was the uneasy partnership of man and machine tested more severely than in the new techniques of aircraft carrier landings. Plane, man, air, ship, and ocean all had to synchronize perfectly. Otherwise, results could be deadly. Early versions of the M4 Sherman tank suffered from poor ammunition storage and shield, which led to dangerous fires when hit. Crews christened it the Ronson lighter because it always lit the first time. As invaluable to modern warfare as Igor Sikorsky's helicopter designs became, flight characteristics were strange and non-intuitive, leading to many early mishaps. Jet aircraft development in the 1950s saw radical designs, many of which proved unstable in flight. The X-15 provided enormous value in aerospace research, yet many test pilots only half-jokingly complained that it had the flight characteristics of a brick. Much of the footage that follows is of rough quality. Those filming or taping the incidents did not know that they were about to record terrifying disasters. Some accidents were pilot error, but far more were the inevitable result of technology that can never be absolutely foolproof. You will see jets and prop planes, fighters and transports, experimental planes and impact tests. We offer it without commentary. The pictures speak for themselves. In 1988, the limited ability of military technology to protect civilians from human error was brought cruelly home at a German air show when a pilot strayed into the path of the French Tricolore fighter squadron. This amateur videotape shows the panic and devastation as hundreds of spectators were caught up in the conflagration caused by the crash. The roots of rocketry reach back to ancient China. Its modern history in the 20th century is filled with spectacular successes. But when the launch of any vehicle equipped with volatile, high-energy fuel goes awry, we are often presented with an equally spectacular failure. January 28, 1986, the potential for the failure of technology was made heartbreakingly apparent as the fate of the crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger was determined by a defective seal in the launch craft. A mundane part performing a routine function cost this nation hundreds of millions of dollars and the lives of 7 dedicated and skilled individuals, including civilian schoolteacher Kristen McAuliffe. The hidden price was even greater loss of faith in supposedly infallible space-age technology.
4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Challenger now heading down range. Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Challenger, go at throttle. 1 minute 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles. Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction. We have no downlink. We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
Risk is an accepted part of the military experience. But what is acceptable risk for us and our families? How do we assess the ability of technology to protect us from terrorists with political, religious, or economic agendas? Terrorists who strive to bring the horror of warfare into our lives and our homes. Only by knowing our own vulnerability can we take the steps necessary to protect our families and our future. Only by sharing this knowledge can we keep ourselves from going down in flames.